All right, let's talk about how we actually control these quadcopters and what actually happens. So I'm just going to grab this one here, and we're going to use this one here as an example. Now let's have a look at our quadcopter. What are the parts to it? Right now we've got our 4 propellers. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and there are electric motors underneath these. These are the arms that these motors are on. This top shell is the body, and then at the bottom here, we've got our landing gear or our skids, which are attached on there. Then we've got our camera mount and our camera. And then we've also got indicator lights. On the original Phantom, there's one light, and that light there is at the very front of the aircraft, and this will tell us when we have satellite lock. This will tell us when it's warming up and all that stuff. On the Phantom 2, we have lights underneath here, which are easier to see and larger, and these will show us different things, such as when we have satellite lock, it'll be blinking a constant green. If these start blinking red, that means the battery's about to fail, time to come in and land. So those are the lights, these are the indicator lights, very important. All right, so let's talk about how do these actually work. Well, how they work is we have these radio transmitters right here. And there's switches on there. You want to have these switches all the way up. If you turn this switch on the right up, what it does is it gives us satellite. If you turn it down, the other 2 positions don't actually do the same. The top position will get satellite. The bottom position will turn off satellite. And if you're flying indoors, you'll actually want to turn the satellite off, because otherwise it's looking for satellite, gets a little bit of a lock, you can get a crazy flyaway. So make sure that's turned off. Turn it up for satellites, which gives you more stable flight when you're outdoors. It will actually pick up those satellites and it will hover in position. On the other side here, turn that up. These are the different flight modes. By default, they're disabled. They're all going to do the same thing. And I'll talk about that later. But make sure both of these are up. Then we've got our stick. The first thing we do is we turn this on here. That's turning on our transmitter. And then we're going to go to our copter. The way to turn that on is you're going to click once. Actually, see where the little switch is there. We're going to click once and then once again. And it will load up and it will start up. All right, so we're not actually going to start it right now, but I'm going to talk about how it flies. On here, we've got a left and a right stick on our transmitter. You're going to spend most of your time, when you start, you're going to spend the majority of your time on the right stick. This is, you want to master this first. On the left stick, we've got 2 things. The stick goes up. What that does is it causes us to go up. That gives us altitude. Bring it down causes it to descend. Now this will ascend at a rate of about 10 meters per second. It will descend at a much slower speed of 2 meters per second. And that's because when it comes down, if it's too much prop wash, it could actually come in and crash, which has happened in the past, which is why the descension is a lot slower. So always bear that in mind when you're up there. And if you're looking at your battery life, bring it in when there's plenty of battery left, because it will come down a lot slower than it goes up. Now, left and right, what that will do, what does that do? Well, let's talk about the actual controls here. When I turn this left and right, this will spin this or rotate it. This is also known as yaw. That's Y-A-W. So will yaw left or right. So we can do that by taking the left stick backwards and forwards. On the right stick, when we put it forward, what it's going to do is it's going to control forwards and backwards. I'll show you here. Forwards and backwards. That controls pitch. Pitch is forwards and backwards motion. So what it does is it will pitch and move forward. If you pull the stick towards you, it will pitch this way and move backwards. Once again, the battery is always the back of the aircraft. Have that pointing towards you. This is always going to be the back. Then we've got roll. Roll is when we move this transmitter left to right. So what happens is we move it left, it will roll and move this way. If we turn the stick right, it will roll this way and roll right. So essentially, we've got pitch, we've got roll, and we've got yaw. Those are the main ways of controlling this particular copter. All right, so there's also 2 different ways of holding this transmitter. You get thumbers, or people that like to put their thumbs on there and control them with their thumbs. That's one way of controlling it. And me, I'm a pincher. What I do is I hold it and I grab my fingers like this, and I just feel by pinching it gives me more precise control, especially when I'm flying and I'm using my camera. So sometimes you might do this to get there, but then you'll grab it like that. So find out what works for you. I like to pinch. I just find that it just gives me a better feel of the aircraft while I'm doing that. So that's basically how this works and how the transmitter here works with the copter.